everyone, and welcome to another Army Showcase. We have the Necrons here, and I've got Michael with me to show them off. Welcome here, Michael. I'm so glad you're here. We've had you on the channel a couple times now.
A few times, yeah.
But we have yet to show your entire army. Is this everything you have in Necrons?
This is everything painted in Necrons.
Okay, so you actually have way more than this.
Yes, yeah, lots more. I'm a deadline painter, so I hastily painted up a few things for this, but yes, this is the entirety of my painted collection. I probably have about double this in unpainted.
This is a hasty paint job? Because this is actually really pretty.
This is hastily done, but quality invested, yes.
So how many points do you think you have here?
I would guesstimate anywhere from 6,000 to 7,000 points.
7,000 points?
It's big.
Yeah. So you have enough to play. You have enough to play an APOC game here.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Oh, I do for sure. Yeah, I did play APOC when they launched it a few times, but again, that's this is my painted army.
Well, it looks beautiful. You've done a great job. Michael's been on our channel a couple times. Back in season 2, you came on for the first time.
Yes.
And you faced who is it? You faced JP.
That's right. Blood Angels.
Blood Angels. And wow, you kind of took them apart. Watson,
MVP
one-shotted
over here.
A repulsor,
yes,
and 2 dreadnoughts.
Yes, and the internet will never forget. And yes, I love it when things swing high, and that was a great showcase of when it swings high. And then the next game was a great showcase when it swings low.
But it not, because yes, the other time we've seen you is facing off against James Jones, an orc player, and that was a bloody game, and yeah, it didn't do as well in that game.
No, it did not.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. As a father of 3 kids, a gamer, and a YouTube creator, it's very hard to keep up with all the incredible lore that 40K has. Listening to audiobooks on Audible while I'm painting or driving has allowed me to delve as deep as I wanted, though. By becoming a member, you get a credit each month for any title, and those titles are yours to keep forever. I've been currently going through the entire Gaunt's Ghost series while going through my painting backlog, and if you haven't listened to them, you are missing out, and this is a great way to do so. Some of the best 40K content out there. So Audible's actually provided a link where you can get a free trial if you go to audible.com/playontabletop, or you can text playontabletop to 500 and you get a free trial, which is actually pretty cool. If you're interested in more Necron lore specifically, one recommendation from our guest today is The Infinite and the Divine, giving some amazing insight into the background of where the Necrons came from. It's probably next on my to-listen list. So tell me about Necrons and why you love them.
Well, Necrons were actually my very first army in the in 40K, pretty much. I had started off in 2002. I was one of the Sunday Mega Battle Warhammer kids that used to go into the Warhammer Surrey and play their Sunday Mega Battles. And I had one day we were playing 40K because they rotated through the different systems. There's Lord of the Rings 1 month or 1 week. And we came in, we were playing a game of 40K. And it was Necrons versus Space Marines. And it's actually a funny story of how I picked up this guy right over here.
Oh, that's like one of the original Necron codexes.
Well, it's the 2002 version of the codex, and I picked it up in 2004. The funny story behind it is it actually has a bunch of these little marks in the cover of it. You can probably see that.
Oh, it's got these like divots and holes. And like looks like you took like a key to it or something like that?
No, actually what I did was the tables at the Warhammer Surrey, I as a 10-year-old took the book and leaned on it waiting for my turn. And then when I was getting ready to go, the store manager at the time had to look at it and go, gonna buy that? I was like, no. He said, well, you kind of marked the cover up. I think you should buy it. And I happened to do, as all 10-year-olds would do, I went, Mom! And now I am the proud owner of a Necron codex. And that really started it off because Necrons in this particular codex are very different than the Necrons in that codex right over there.
The most recent one.
The most recent one, you bet.
You're talking lore-wise.
Yeah, well,
like model range, they've changed a lot too, but
model range has really changed. Lore-wise has really changed, and even the feel of the army has really changed. Like Necrons, when they came out here, and part of the reason I really liked them was my brother picked up Ultramarines at the time. Boo, I know. He picked them up, and Necrons, the Necron warrior, were basically like a better Ultramarine. So
Got stronger guns.
they had the same armor save.
Yeah.
They had stronger guns. They had teleportation. They could get back up. And any younger brother knows that you have to have better than your older brother.
I'm an older brother myself, so I don't know that.
So I'm the younger brother, and I, of course, was like, yeah. So I picked him up, and I ran with him. It wasn't very good, but it kind of started it off. And then they got a total revamp of their line. They went from soulless metal Terminators, basically, in the lore, and they've changed them over to, in my opinion, the better version, which is the Egyptians in space.
No. That might have been too far.
Was it? Might have been too far.
But for those of you who don't know, Necrons are one of, not the original armies within 40k, but they're definitely one of the earlier ones. Because obviously when they started, they had the Space Marines, they had Orcs, they had Eldar, and Necrons were one of the first additions to that.
Yes, they. If we're going way back in time, they did have two Rogue Trader models.
Yeah.
I think they did. Yeah, the old first edition Necron Warrior, like the old metal ones, look very different. And I really like watching how they've transitioned the lineup. And I think they're a really good spot right now because I really like the lore. But it is cool seeing kind of through the history what they look like.
Well, let's talk about that for a bit. So let's talk about where they came from. So originally, from what I understand, the original lore of the Necrons was essentially that they were these ancient robots that had been buried a long time ago, and every so often, clueless Imperials would stumble across them and wake them up, and they'd start waking up on these tomb worlds and start killing everything.
Yep.
And that was pretty much all the backstory they had.
The old lore for them was that this little fella up here, and a Satan shard, or actually no, at that time they weren't shards. The Satan of the Nightbringer or the Deceiver were actually the ones in charge. They enslaved all the Necrons, and the Necrons themselves were soulless, autonomous, like no personality, no will, they just killing machines, and all they wanted to do was harvest all life. They wanted to kill everything down to the microbial level.
Zombie robots.
Pretty much like zombie robots crossed with Terminators. That's kind of their old lore.
In fact, yeah, because even some of their old rules, I'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be back, we'll be back. Yeah, they actually, back in that day, they were hilariously overpowered, in my opinion, because they used to have things like their basic warrior could just wreck a vehicle, just glance it to death, like kill it.
Yeah.
You used to be able to basically pick up a unit, teleport it anywhere on the board, just here, I'm here. The Resorbs used to work a little differently too, but the lore back then has really transitioned.
So, and then about 2011, they released this codex, and they changed the lore dramatically.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Flipped everything on its head. Now it's not this guy who's in charge, it's this guy who's in charge, and that guy is enslaved by this guy. And it's like this reawakening where they have this opportunity to put some personality into the soulless automaton. Because before the question was, why would they ever fight each other? Right? They're always under control of the Catan. Catan, there at the time there was only two, the Deceiver and the Nightbringer.
Yeah.
And now it's your chance to all these different dynasties, all these different legions that don't like each other. This Necron wakes up and he thinks he's a general back in the day and all his warriors are still alive. This guy thinks that everything should be destroyed. This guy never even woke up. And all of these guys and all these different personalities get injected into them, and that's super cool.
Suddenly you can do a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
So the Necrons as a race didn't used to be robots.
No.
They used to be a race of alien humanoids that way back before humans, before orcs even, fought a war with what's known as the Old Ones. And we don't really know what the Old Ones look like. We just know that they were a very psychic race. And the Old Ones created the Eldar and the Orcs. Yep. Or they were slightly different at that time.
Krorks, which were basically technologically advanced Orcs.
Yeah,
so scary.
So the Old Ones created those races to fight against the Necrons because they were having a big war.
Because they were getting their butts kicked.
Yes, because the Necrons were jealous of the Old Ones because the Old Ones lived forever, and the Necrons lived on a world where, because of where they lived, they died quickly. They had short lives.
They had short lives, and they were more in the lore that they were more interested in erecting pyramids and monuments to death than life, and this jealousy prompted them to basically go to war with the Old Ones first. Promptly lost immediately, and then in their desperation they turned to the Catan, which at the time, the Deceiver, approached them and kind of made a deal.
So we might need to explain what the Catan are. So the Catan they're called star gods, lower G. They're basically big beings that float in space consuming stars and
the energy of stars and promising things, and
they're big ethereal beings with lots of power.
Yes,
and
immense power.
And they promised the Necrons that they could build them a better body, essentially.
They promised them immortality.
They promised them immortality,
and only if you would serve us, basically.
Yeah.
And the Silent King, who is actually in the lore present now, for the longest time, he was just kind of the oogie boogie guy.
Yeah, he actually has a model now, and it's amazing.
It's actually on my paint table too, but he's an incredible model, incredible figure, and the lore is that he's the one who actually made the deal with the Deceiver and said, yeah, okay, let's do this. And immediately, as soon as the deal was struck, it's actually, the lore even goes with the warriors are basically the civilians of the Necrotier Empire. They are literally the people that were harvested and thrown into these big furnaces and emerged as Necron warriors. And
so very little of what they were is existing. The basic Necron warrior is still basically a mindless robot, and very little of what they used to be still exists.
Exactly. Your immortals are the warriors. They're like what the warrior caste used to be.
The soldiers of the old.
Yeah. When you start getting into the lords, you start getting into the Lich Guard, that's when you start to find a little bit more personality.
Some of the who they were is still existing. They were such a powerful personality, and I think partially they went in later in the furnace.
I don't know if there was an order to it. I do know that there is some kind of cool lore with the transports, which I don't have unfortunately painted right now, but Ghost Arcs actually were what they used. They put the people in the Ghost Arcs and then they just run the Ghost Arcs through the furnaces.
Isn't the Ghost Arcs these but reversed?
Upside down.
Yeah. So
and then the Doomsday Arc.
There's a Ghost Arc?
yeah, exactly. Spin that guy upside down. No, there's lots of little cool, but you have to go hunting for that lore. It's not a lot written about it, and I think that kind of adds to the obscurity of it, where it's kind of cool that it's not all written. You have to kind of think about it. But.
So basically, they essentially, with all this transference, they were now in these robot bodies, and even though they were deceived, they took revenge. Those that had it still in their mind, they took revenge on the Satan.
So they won the war with the old ones.
They won the war with the old ones.
They won the war with the old ones.
The Elder went into hiding. The Orcs went into hiding.
Oh yeah, beat him back and got to the point where just as victory was like just on the cusp of total victory, Caesar betrayed the Catan, and the Catan were so powerful that they really couldn't be defeated in a conventional sense. So instead, they took these immense weapons of power and shot them at them and actually exploded them into pieces. Yeah. And whenever you see a Catan now, that's only a 100th of a millionth piece of a Catan. That's not a true part of it.
They're shards of it.
It's a shard of it.
And they use these shards to power their weapons.
They use them for weaponry. There's actually one riding on Caesaric's throne. It's like he's like power. He's like the battery that he's like, and he's got his skin. He's draped in his skin, and he's powering his throne with it, which is like the best insult you can do. Like, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to make you power my chariot and drag me around.
That's kind of a revenge for sure.
Yes, yeah, that's the best way. But yeah, so that flip, and now the Necrons are kind of left. They're this super powerful race, but the problem is they're so weakened from fighting. I mean, not all the Catan went out quietly, right? There's the flayed ones, which are those guys up over there. They're infected with a disease from one of the only Catan that was actually truly killed. And his death throes, he cursed Necrons with this terrible flesh curse that they want to cleanse the skin off of humans and living beings so that they think that they're living again.
So they wear skin to try to pretend like they're alive again.
Yeah, right? Like, I don't know, just things like that, those little stories that echo throughout the army, those are so cool to me, and they spin a story of what Necrons are that's my thing.
And then having defeated all their enemies, they went to sleep on these
Yes.
tomb worlds.
They duked it out with each other. Catan and the Necrons at the time got so exhausted with beating each other, into a pulp. And they all of a sudden, all these other races that they had previously, beaten back to the doorstep, the Necron or the orcs at the time, all these races noticed like, oh, the Necrons are kind of weak right now. Maybe we should beat them up. So at the time, Zarek was basically put out a directive that all the Necrons need to go into stasis. They need to go to sleep. They need to go back into hiding. They go into their tomb worlds. They burrow. They go into slumber. And in the time that it takes for them to wake up, they had all these, treasures and everything like that protected by the scarabs, which are the canoptic, basically
robots.
Yeah, basically robots. They're not sentient in any traditional sense, but they
go around and they repair things, and they're going around and repairing the bodies and fixing things up and repairing all their buildings and mechanics and stuff like that to prepare for their eventual return.
Exactly.
And that is now, which brings us back to the setting we are in right now, when they are all starting to wake up.
They are waking up.
Some of them have been waking up accidentally, where Space Marines or humans or Eldar have stumbled across a Necron tomb world, delved too deep and too greedily.
Yeah, dug too greedily, that's right.
And awakened the Necrons, or they're starting to wake up as they are, and they're carving out their own empires, taking worlds, destroying people, making their own alliances, and generally causing mayhem across the galaxy.
Yes, and I think the part that really cements the Necrons as my favorite, absolute all-time favorite, is they're not all waking up equal. There's a long sleep. You forget things. You dream too deep. You stare into the abyss stares back. Some of the Necrons wake up and they're insane. They're absolutely insane. They think that they're still back in their heyday. Some of them think that the destroyers think that all life needs to be purged. Some of the Necron lords even still do diplomacy with the Imperium. They make deals, they trade, they have slave labor, they have all of these different myriad of responses they have to the different factions. I even remember reading that one of the tomb worlds, the canoptic programming decided we don't need lords anymore, and basically killed off all of their lords, and the entire Necron tomb world is controlled just by canoptic. Like, it's basically the Skynet. Skynet is looking down going,
The AI took over.
Beep bop, beep boop, and killing everything around. No, it's just, there's so many different stories that you can tell with the Tomb King lore, and you could come up with a reason for just about anything. I mean, geez, Matt Ward said Blood Angels and Necrons are no problem, so. That's in that book, man.
Yeah, Matt Ward, look him up. He's a famous...
Matt Ward,
Famous, is that the right word?
Yeah, sure.
I've definitely heard his name bandied around a lot.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he seems like a good guy.
He wrote that book.
And you like this book?
I do like it, so you know what? I won't say I'm a fanboy,
There's a lot of lore in here.
There's a lot of lore. There's a lot of good lore, and I like where it's at. I like where it's at right now.
Good. Well, tell me about your army. Walk me through it. Show me what you got here.
Sure. So from left to right.
Yeah, let's start over here.
We got a unit of Lockers Destroyers, and these guys were the absolute pinnacle of 8th edition Warhammer 40K.
I remember those.
Those guys were absolutely nasty and were basically an auto-include in every game I played. They just, I think there's an audio bit of me saying, you point at something and that thing's gone. And spend 2 CP, because it was 2 CP strat, but you could delete something. So there was that. Those were really, really important. This is a Doom Scythe that I just actually got painted up, and I am really eager to give him a try. I really like the idea of him screaming onto the board, deleting something, and then promptly exploding. I'm sure you're a fan of that yourself.
Yeah.
So.
I love what you did with this. Is this a rust effect, or what was this in your mind?
Verdigris. Actually, I saw a post on Instagram of something similar to this, and I looked at it and I went, "Wow, that's really cool. I wonder if I can do that." And
I think you achieved it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it worked.
I like it a lot.
Right? So, Doom Scythe. We have one of the Lockers Heavy Destroyers. That is one of the newer models that I have, and I had painted him up for my game with James to give him a try. Wasn't quite what I thought it would be. It's kind of swingy, which you'll notice a trend. A lot of Necron weaponry tends to be kind of swingy. Can be
So it can either be really good or it can be terrible.
incredible, and the cries of OP will ring through the halls, or there will be like a wah wah, and that's a recurring theme. I have a Technomancer, which is actually a
Mind if I see it?
go for it. Yeah. That's actually one of the first models I painted in the newer scheme. Yeah,
Now that looks very Egyptian.
yes, right? Like everything about it.
It's got the whole like chin beard thing.
Yeah. So, and like I have names for them. The names for all the different lords and models and stuff like that. Of course, everyone knows Watson, but there's Reginald over there. This is Pierre, and the names will change because he'll forget. You know, every game will be a different one, but this guy is Watson because he's got a medal that says Watson. But I have Necron Warriors, which are actually the very first models I've actually picked up. So these are over 17 years old.
I noticed because the original models, all their guns used to have these green acrylic tubes for them, but these do not, and they are not the new models. All the new Necron Warriors do not have those green acrylic tubes. That's true. But these ones are the old ones, but they do not. Explain yourself.
Those are printed tubes, basically, to bring my warriors into the 21st century.
So you got them printed, inserted them into them, and painted them so they could match the rest of your army.
So they can mesh with the rest. Yeah, not to say that I don't like the green tubes, but I like these ones.
There's something about the new style. I do like it.
Yeah,
I do like it.
So lots of warriors. You'll notice warriors are very good. They are kind of that horde that never goes away, and especially in this edition, any big units of warriors with obsec. Geez, you gotta basically clear 40 wounds off of something if you want to take it back, because they count as double. They count as double obsec. So.
And you'll kill them, and then they'll come back, and then you kill them, they'll come back, and then you manage to kill most of them, and then the Lord will just bring them all back again.
Rise! No. I have some death marks, which these guys over here.
Like snipers?
Yeah, sniper assassins.
I've never actually faced these guys.
They are not super common at the moment, but they can fulfill a really nice niche of character elimination. So I think as this edition kind of rolls on, and I'm seeing a lot more supporting characters, these guys are going to be pretty cool.
You know, his helmet looks a lot like Tau. It's got one central eye. It's got that same kind of like elongated helmet.
You know he had it first, so you're just copying him, right?
Or these guys are copying the Tau. They saw the Tau, the superior technology of the Tau, and they're like, oh yeah.
These guys are old. These guys are old. They're old. Right?
Get off my lawn. Get off my lawn.
Pierre over here, that is actually the Lord that I had from my original army. That is a metal model. So that guy, he has,
that's heavy.
Yeah, right. You can throw them at someone if you're mad at them. Actually, the Catan over there, that's a metal Catan over there too. And that
See, look like a watermelon?
Those are Resorbs. That could be a watermelon. It's a watermelon, and
it kind of looks like a watermelon a little bit.
Yeah, he just picks the watermelon up, slams it into the ground like the old Dawn of War games, and all the warriors rise up. That's always good. We have Immortals. I have both the Tesla weapons and the Gauss blasters over there. Gauss. We have, of course, our Overlord with his retinue of Lich Guard. Thank you.
I love, my favorite are probably your guard. I love these Lich Guard. Lich Guard or Lich Guard?
Lich Guard.
Yeah. Their shields are so cool.
Right? Again, just like the image in my head, like for me, these guys, I think of like the Persian Immortals. That's what I think of. Like,
they do. They
that's
very
what
much,
they kind of remind me of. That kind of elite warriors that kind of walk and wade into the fight.
If I saw those guys coming after me, I'd be
the other way. Oh yeah, and they're big. You put them next to a Space Marine, especially. They're almost. I'm pretty sure they're about the size of a Primaris Marine. So those guys are cool. I have a Royal Warden, which
Warden. He's kind of like a sniper character, is he not?
He can be. There's a certain relic you can give him that is pretty good for that. But for the most part, he's more of the. He allows me to pick units and fold them back out of combat and still shoot.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah. So I didn't have him in my orc game, that is one that I kind of kicked myself on. I should have probably brought him, but he will definitely make a return in some of my games in the future. And actually, these warriors up front here, those are the new warriors. So if you want to see a little bit of the difference there,
that's right. They've got the new weapon.
Those are the new.
It's like a double barrel shotgun.
Yeah,
they're short range.
Short range, lots of shots, high strength. It's kind of the in-your-face blast you up front.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then leading the charge up front there,
The Satan?
That is the Satan. That
The
is
Deceiver, right?
That is actually the Nightbringer. That is I call him the pale one.
Oh, you do have it written right there.
I have, in case anybody didn't know.
That is all metal, isn't it?
That is a metal model, so that's a pick 'em up and throw 'em if you get upset with thing. But I actually, again, kind of took my inspiration from that guy, from a page in the very first codex. There was it's like the very back, I think, where there was just
Codex have changed so much.
Oh, I know, right? There's so much artwork in these things too. But
it looks very close to that.
That's kind of
you did good.
close. Yeah, pretty close. But yeah, just little things like that where these are the codexes back then used to have all these different, here's how you can make crystals out of styrofoam.
Yeah, they don't really tell you how to make stuff from scratch anymore, do they?
No, not really, but a lot of that stuff is inspiration. Like here's examples of different color schemes and stuff like that. Here's, I believe, here's how you can build. They don't, again, kind of a different way of doing it, but yeah, for getting me into the hobby, this thing was incredible. This was like many a night bent over that thing, looking over, wow, that's cool. I want to do that. I want to do that.
I can believe that.
It only took 17 years.
These codexes can be a little bit like those kind of eye-openings, and especially some of the older ones. Some of the lore in them is really cool. Yeah. I still keep my old Tau codexes because I pour through them and oh, that's a cool story. I never saw that one before.
Got a little bookcase in case, so continuing on.
Yeah, we got to drop
got a bunch of scarabs.
Oh yeah, tons of scarabs.
Tons of scarabs.
What's this thing right here?
That is a Chronomancer, which is a cryptech that kind of specializes in time. The other thing that's kind of cool, Necrons don't have magic. They don't do anything with
no psychic power, no war powers.
Power at all. But their science is so advanced that it is magic. And there's that famous saying, there becomes a point where all magic is science and all science becomes magic.
That science is indistinguishable from magic.
Yes, that's right. And that guy epitomizes it. They've taken the study of time so far that he can do things like basically slow time.
Wow.
And they know how to do that, and they keep it, right? and he can give guys 5-up vulnerable saves. There's actually a piece of arcana that he can take that basically throw it at somebody and they get caught in stasis, they go charge slower. So
cool.
There's cool pieces of lore like that. So, and I like how they split up a whole bunch of the different cryptechs into, like, we have Technomancers, we have the Chronomancers, we have Plasmancers, different studies basically, right? One's repairing vehicles, repairing the warriors, one's going to be studying time, one's throwing fireballs at you, which are not magic, they are science fireballs. There's a difference, because you can't ignore them. Fireball's a fireball. But
what is this thing? It looks like a dog.
That's a murder bucket. No, it's a
murder bucket. You have two of them.
I do. Those are crypto thralls. They are, I believe they are a canoptic bodyguard basically for the cryptechs. They kind of follow them around, make sure that nobody gets too close. And I love the idea that they get really, really good when they're like little dogs that follow around and they're just like fluffy and you kind of, there's two of them, what are they gonna do? And then you read out the rules, and when they're near a cryptech, they have 5 strength 5, damage 2 attacks, -3. What?
That's pretty good.
Right. So those are kind of cool. They're often underestimated, which is kind of neat. And then that guy is Illuminor Caesaris.
Oh,
and,
that's so cool.
He is probably the model I've spent the most time painting. He is definitely one of the hardest to put together. Let me tell you that.
I can believe it. There is a lot of intricate pieces in this.
There is, and not a lot of error room in there too.
It looks like he's sucking the brains out of this guy.
Sucking the life force out of him and studying it while swirling it in his hand like a vintage Merlot.
Yeah. This is a creepy model,
isn't it?
It's so cool.
It kind of it epitomizes the idea that these Necrons are so
advanced.
They're so advanced and contemptuous of life. Like they're like, I want to see what he's made of. Like literally, not just like I want to see what you're made of. Like let's strip you down and see. No,
let's just strip you down the atom just to see what it's like.
What's the next layer look like? Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I like he's got a whole bunch of special rules that buff the rest of the army, which I really like. We have some more warriors over there. We got he's actually not glued to the base, but just for easy transport. But that is a canoptic spider, or canoptic, Triarch Stalker, pardon me. Triarch Stalker, which he's actually one of the Silent King's special warriors. Anything with a Praetorian is actually one of the the Silent King's followers. So he actually takes orders from the big boss directly. He doesn't listen to anybody else. He's here on his own accord.
He's cool looking, man. Yep. And so this guy right here, you looking at the character here?
That's the, I call him the Silver Surfer, or the Blue Surfer actually, but he's basically a Technomancer on a little scarab that flies him around. He's got his own little magic carpet.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. And then Tomb Blades, Tomb Spider over there, and some nice new flayed ones over in the front leading the charge.
The guys wearing the human skins.
Yes, the flayed ones with the old skin 'em and wear their skin.
Well, your army is beautiful.
Thank you.
Suitably terrifying.
Suitably.
Well done, man. This looks beautiful.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, it's a lot of work, but it's a labor of love.
How many hours do you think is here?
Well, it is an off and on project for 17 years.
17 years.
But I have like a lot of the older Necron product, like the Necrons that I first picked up, I painted in the silver scheme. Yeah. And then when they got that book, a lot of it got stripped down and repainted or added onto to make the nice blue that we see over here.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have any lore for this army? Do you have, like, is this army a specific?
Yes.
Yeah?
Reginald over here. Overlord Reginald is a pharaoh of the Nihilak dynasty, and when he awoke, he is still convinced that he is basically a British Boer War general. That's basically the best story I can come up with. Imagine the Boer War, a general from, he's out in, well, Watson, get them.
Wait, so you're telling me these guys think they're humans?
Oh, no, they think they're generals. Like he thinks that he's a general from back in the Empire in basically a Boer War setting.
Oh, the equivalent of it. Not the actual Boer War.
Yeah, he wasn't there. No, but that's the lore in my head, is that everything he does, let's have a cup of tea after we.
So you're saying that old Necrons, like the original Necron tier, were kind of British?
Sure, these ones were.
Well, you know what? The whole planet, there could be different dialects all over the place. Why not?
No problem, for sure.
Do you have any suggestions for someone trying to get into Necrons? Where would they start? Where would you suggest someone starts?
I would say there's a lot of great ways to get into Necron army. I think you need to have a look at the codex, pick some part of the army that you really, really like the idea of, right? Whether you like big guns, whether you like fast, whether you like just the unkillable silver tide rolling across the stage, whether you like, some people, there's even the Destroyer cult, which is a bunch of absolute crazy maniacs who just want to kill everything on the table. Find something that you really get excited about, and then it will not take you very long to keep finish that, add one more thing, finish that, add one more thing. And there's enough stuff in the army that you can actually get yourself on a good little roll with. Like for me, it was warriors. I wanted the silver tide, and then, well, I'm gonna have silver tide, I should have at least one of these guys. And well, if I have one of these guys, I should have a cryptek so he can repair it. Well, if I have a cryptek, I should probably get murder buckets so they protect them. Well, if you have murder buckets, let's add some more Necrons, right? So that's how it goes for me. I would say find something you like, and there's tons of backstory and stuff behind that you can kind of latch onto and go crazy, go nuts.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on and showing us your army. I know you have a lot of Necrons you didn't show us.
Yes.
So maybe one day we'll get to see the rest of those. Well, thanks for joining us. And as I said near the beginning of this video, the sponsor for this episode is Audible. If you go to audible.com/playontabletop, or you can text playontabletop to 500-500, and you can get a free trial and claim your free audiobook and support the show by going to the link in the description. Do you want to sign off with me? So basically, it's really easy, but no one seems to got it yet.
Okay.
So you just look at the camera, and you say, and I say, until we see you next time, and we both say, play on, looking at the camera, all right? Okay, so until we see you next time, pause, play on, okay?
That's right.
Until we see you next time, play on. Oh, yeah.